So, good evening, one and all, and good evening to our speaker, Professor Guru. And I think we all have known him. He is currently handling this course, Western Political Thought of Sambalpur University, and this course is for the first semester of PG students. And we have been discussing Plato. The first talk was on approaching Western political thought. Second talk was on political philosophy of Plato. Especially in that talk, he introduced Plato. And today, he will go into the political philosophy of Plato. And the starting point, the entry point to this political philosophy of Plato is human nature. And today he will focus on the concept of human nature given by Plato, and there he will extend this understanding to other political, other aspect of political philosophy of Plato. So, without taking much time, I'm straightforward. I'm going back to Professor Guru, and I request him to start his deliberation on this topic on human nature. Yes, sir. Now you can continue.
Oh, yes. My dear students, assembled here to listen to my discussions on Plato's political thought, I hope we shall have meaningful and fruitful interactions for the next 30 to 40 minutes, during which I shall convey you my impressions, my perceptions of Plato's political thought, specifically relating to today's topic entitled Plato's Concept on Human Nature. Before I discuss Plato's concept or assumption on human nature, I would urge upon you to recollect our earlier discussions. That is because unless you understand the importance of the concept of human nature in the political thought of a thinker, it may not be possible for you to bring about the linkage between this foundational concept and the derivatives in Plato's conceptualizations on state and state individual relationship. In last class, I had brought to your notice that political thought is a coherent conceptual skill on state and state individual relationship. It is a coherent conceptual skill. It is a scheme of ideas on a state and state individual relationship, on origin of state, nature of state, end of state, structure of government, functions of government, and the relationship between the state and the individual concerning the issues such as rights, liberty, equality, justice, and political obligation. These constitute the central theme of political thought of a thinker, and Plato is no exception to it. So far as the political thought of a thinker is concerned, whether he is Plato or any other thinker, the thinker starts with or commences his academic pursuits on the basis of his concept of human nature, which is the foundational concept. It is the foundational concept on which the edifice of the political thought, focusing on state and state individual relationship of the thinker. It is thought to be built and designed. It is the foundational concept. And I repeat it. You must understand the importance of this foundational concept. Just as for understanding a building, we must inquire into the foundations of it. Because a building is built or designed or constructed on a distinct and definite foundation with a definite purpose. It is on the foundation that the building stands. The utility of the building, the purpose of the building depends upon the foundation. So it is the foundation which determines the structure of the building, the purpose of the building, the functions of the building, and its utility as well. Similar is the case with the political thought of a thinker on state and state individual relationship. And the concept of human nature is the foundational concept. It is the foundation of Plato's concept of state and state individual relationship, therefore. So, unless we understand this foundational concept, it may not be possible for us to have clarity of understanding, logical understanding, rational understanding of the derivatives. And the derivatives are his concept of the origin of state, nature of state, end of state, structure of government, functions of government, and state individual relationship with all the issues that I've already told you. So, concept of human nature is the foundational concept of every thinker, irrespective of Plato, and Plato is no exception to it. So, Plato starts his political thought on state and state individual relationship with a distinct and definite concept on human nature. And why the concept of human nature is considered to be the foundational concept of the thinker? Why? As a student of political science, you must address yourself in investigating into the question of why always. What, why, how? These questions need to be answered, investigated into, and answered so that clarity of understanding may be obtained by you. So, why the concept of human nature is considered to be the foundational concept? Why? And the reason is the state is an assemblage of individuals. State is an organization of individuals or human beings on a definite territory on this earth. I would like to paraphrase it as the state is of the individuals, by the individuals, and for the individuals or human beings. And the state represents, reflects, manifests the qualities of the human beings. Human nature is reflected in the origin of state, structure of state, functions of state, and state individual relationship as well. This is the reason why the concept of human nature is considered as the foundational concept of everything. And Plato commences his academic endeavors in designing his model state, what is termed as the Republic. The Republic has been designed by Plato on this concept of human nature. Therefore, this is considered as the foundational concept of Plato's political thought. And in forming his basic assumption or postulate on human nature, his belief on human nature, Plato adopts and employs the deductive approach. The deductive approach is the approach of imagination, speculation, cogitation, speculation, contemplation. It is therefore the philosophical approach, it is therefore the normative approach. All these terms are identical. It contains Plato's system of beliefs, his assumption, his fundamental postulate, his views and vision, His assumption on human nature. That is what he believes. And in forming his belief, his basic assumption on human nature, Plato adopts and employs the deductive approach, the approach of imagination, the approach of speculation. This must be kept in mind. And how he formed, what is the content of Plato's concept of human nature, his basic assumption or postulate on human nature, which is considered as the foundational concept of his thought on state and state individual relationship. The belief of Plato is that man is essentially a moral being. This is his basic assumption, his belief. We may agree with his belief, we may disagree with his belief. But here we are concerned essentially with what Plato believes. What is his assumption? We may not accept what he says, but for understanding of Plato, we must understand what he says first. What is his belief system? And he postulates. And this postulation, this assumption, he has derived through the employment of the philosophical approach or the deductive approach. It is his philosophy of life. And he says that man is essentially a moral being. This concept of human nature is the foundational concept. And why he calls or why he believes that man is essentially a moral being. Here I am using the term man in the capital letters, MEN or MAN. It doesn't connote any gender perception. It is gender neutral term that is I am using. Man means here the person, the individual, the human being, not male or female. I do not use the term man here in gender sense of the term. So according to Plato, or so far as his belief system is concerned, his basic or fundamental assumption is concerned, man is essentially a moral being. Why he believes that man is a moral being? Because he believes, he assumes that in the human being, in every human being, there are two components. One is the physical body component, and the other one is the soul component. Every human being is composed of a body, a physical body, a body of blood, flesh, and bones. At the same time, within the body of the individual, he notices the presence of the soul. And what is that soul? It is consciousness. A consciousness whose nature is implanted in the body of the individual. It is because of the presence of that soul that the individual is capable of thinking. It is because of the presence of the soul in the body of the individual that the individual makes himself a dynamic entity. He not only thinks, he also works, undertakes activities, displays behavior and roles. If there would be no soul in the body of the individual, the body of the individual would be called as a dead body. And that is the consciousness. And that consciousness is the gift of nature. Plato doesn't here say it is the gift of God. No. He says, this is the ancient Greek belief that everything is natural here. Therefore, Greek political thought, as we shall note, is characterized by natural rationalism. So nature has gifted the individual with this consciousness. And because of the presence of that consciousness, that soul, that the individual is capable of thinking, rational thinking, logical thinking. He's capable of thinking what is good or bad, what is right or wrong, what is just or unjust, what is praiseworthy or condemnable, what he should do and what he should not do. So, in the soul of the individual, in the body of the individual, this soul is of topmost priority. It is the guiding element in the for the individual. It guides, it directs the individuals, motivates the individuals, makes the individual dynamic entity. All behavior and activities of the individual are a product of the directions of his soul. And that soul, therefore, determines and manifests the behavior of the individual. This is the relationship between the soul and behavior. So, human nature, by what do we understand by human nature? Human nature is composed of the individual's psychology or mindset and his behavior or roles taken together. And the behavior and roles of the individual or activities, what an individual undertakes in reality, are determined, shaped, and conditioned by the soul of the individual. Soul is therefore the directing entity, the determining entity of human behavior. So, behavior or activities do not occur in vacuum or randomly. These are very much a product or outcome of the individual's mindset or soul or psychology. And that soul, which is of topmost priority for the human being, according to Plato, this is his assumption. You may not agree with, or you may question. But what Plato believes you must understand first, how he proceeds in understanding human nature, in portraying human nature, and portraying it, the his concepts, or presenting his concepts on state and state individual relationship. That soul, which is of topmost priority in human being, which is the guiding entity in human being, Plato believes is composed of three elements. And these elements are reason, spirit, and appetite. These are the three elements which, taken together, constitute or compose the soul of the individual. So, for understanding Plato's political ideas concerning state and state individual relationship, we must understand the composition as believed by Plato concerning the soul of the individual. How or what are the constituents? What are the components of the individual soul? Plato says three elements: reason, spirit, and appetite. These three elements, what are these three elements? These three elements are qualities, essentially qualities. These three elements are the psychological tendencies of the individual, instincts of the individual. These psychological tendencies or instincts which motivate the individual for thinking and for activities. So the element of reason is a distinct type of tendency in the soul of the individual. Spirit is another distinct type of tendency, psychological tendency or instinct. And appetite is another. So each of these three elements, reason, spirit, and appetite, have their distinctive qualities. They are characterized by distinctive qualities, psychological tendencies or instincts. What is the natural tendency of the element of reason, which is a gift of nature, he says? It is that quality which makes the individual for right thinking. Reason is that natural element in the soul of the individual which motivates the individual, directs the individual for right thinking, rational thinking. And what is the right thinking? The thinking which an individual as a human being is expected to undertake. The individual is not expected to undertake thinking like a beast. He's a human being. He's the highest creation of nature. And nature has endowed the individual with that natural gift of reason in his soul, which directs him, the individual for right thinking, rational thinking, thinking which is expected to make as a human being on this earth as the highest creation of nature. And it is because of the presence of that element of reason in him that the individual develops the faculty of conscience. He's capable of thinking what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, what is just, what is unjust, what he should do, what he should not do, what is praiseworthy and what is condemnable. He's capable of thinking. This is a very precious gift which nature has given to man, the human being, which is present in the soul. So every human being is capable of rational thinking, he says. Every individual is capable of knowing the idea of the good, objective goodness. Virtue can be known by every individual. That is what we have already discussed while discussing Socratic influence on Plato. Knowledge is virtue. The individual is capable of knowing, as a human being, he is capable of knowing what is virtue, what is objective goodness, what is the idea of the good towards which all human activities are to be directed for realizing a life of virtue on this earth. So, virtue can be known. Objective goodness of human life can be known through rational speculation, through contemplation. And what is that objective goodness? As I've already told you, goodness of human life, which is eternal, which is universal, which is unchangeable, which is permanent, which is not subject to flux or change, which is valid for all time and clime. It is applicable to all human beings on this earth, living in all societies. During all time, it is universal, therefore, it is eternal. So, that idea of the good, capital idea, that idea concerning the virtue or objective goodness of human life can be known through rational contemplation. And that becomes possible because of the presence of the element of reason in human soul, which is the highest gift of nature to man. So, reason is the quality of right thinking. What about spirit? Spirit is another quality, a psychological tendency present in the soul of the individual, which is also a gift of nature. And that spirit connotes right action. Whereas reason connotes right thinking, spirit, the element of spirit connotes, in Platonic sense, right action. Action which an individual as a human being is expected to undertake in following the rational decisions made by the element of reason in the soul. This must be understood, therefore. Spirit is right action. Not that any type of action you are expected to undertake because of the presence of the element of spirit. Spirit motivates you to undertake a right action, what you should do. Decisions are made by the element of reason. Reason is therefore the decision making element as a human being present in human soul. Action is the element which motivates you for right action, to follow the directions of the element of reason. It is that quality of mind of the individual. So once the element of reason decides what is good, what should be done, it is the element of spirit which motivates you to follow the directions and to put it in action, to realize it. And the third element is the element of appetite. It is another quality present in the soul of the individual as the gift of nature. And what is that appetite? Appetite is that quality, that tendency, psychological tendency, which motivates the individual to become bodily concerned. The individual is not merely a soul, he is also a physical body. And this physical body must be sustained, maintained, propagated. It must be preserved. It must be protected. So it is the presence of the element of appetite in the soul of the individual that directs and motivates the individual to preserve this human body, to maintain this human body, to sustain this human body. It is also under the direction of nature. Nature desires it. And because it is because of the presence of the element of appetite, therefore, in the soul of the individual, that the individual becomes hungry, becomes thirsty. He is motivated to undertake activities for sustenance and maintenance of this physical body. He undertakes activities for realization or attainment of the physical needs of life, physical life. And what are the needs of physical life? Food, clothes, shelter, and warmth. Every human being, for maintaining and sustaining his human body, must eat food. Without food, he cannot live. He will die. He must drink water. So, this feeling, this sensation of concerning the appetite that motivates, that makes the individual hungry and thirsty and motivates the individual to search for and appropriate food, clothes, shelter, and warmth. These are undertaken under the directions of that element of appetite present in the soul of the individual. So, food is necessary, clothes are necessary to wear, shelter is necessary to live in, to protect this human body from the ravages of nature, from cold and heat, from rain. So the individual needs a shelter, needs food, needs clothes. At the same time, the individual needs warmth. What is this warmth? Warmth is love and affection. It is in warmth that there is present the urge for sex, for procreation of human species. That urge for sex, that urge for procreating human species motivates the individual to undertake necessary activities under the directions of the presence of this element of appetite in the soul. Had this element of appetite been not present in the soul of the individual, probably this human race would have been extinct long ago. Human society continues to exist from generation to generation. Why? Through procreation of human species undertaken on fulfilling the urge for sex under the directions of nature. So these are the four basic physical needs of life: needs for food, clothes, shelter, and warmth. And these physical needs of life arise for satisfaction or attainment because of the presence of that element of appetite in the soul of the individual, which is another gift of nature. So these are natural elements. Reason, spirit, and appetite, all these are the gifts of nature. And these three elements have their distinctive qualities. Reason is right thinking, spirit is right action, and appetite is concern for maintenance and sustenance of this physical body. So if we notice Plato's assumption, what do we find here? So far as this composition of human soul is concerned, the element of reason and the element of spirit tends to make the individual selfless. Why? Right thinking is not concerned with this physical body. It is concerned with finding out what is universal, what is eternal, what is permanently good for human beings as human beings. So presence of this element of reason naturally tends to make the individual selfless in thinking. At the same time, the element of spirit, presence of that element also tends to make the individual selfless in thinking. Why? Because it is supporting the element of reason. Whatever reason decides as a right thinking, as a rational decisions, element of spirit must follow it and put it into action. So element of reason and element of spirit are friendly to one another. They're associated with one another. You must note this concept of Plato also for understanding Plato's concept of state and state individual relations. Whereas the element of appetite, which is exclusively concerned with the maintenance of this physical body, tends to make the individual selfish and selfish always. So why do we become selfish? Because we become exclusively body concerned. That is why we think, when we think for our maintenance, our sustenance individually, for maintaining and sustaining this physical body, we tend to become selfish and selfish. So these three elements present in the soul of the individual has a distinct and definite pattern of interrelationship among themselves in conformity with their respective qualities and tendencies. And what is that relationship between these three elements? On one hand, we find close association between reason and spirit. On the other hand, we find animosity against reason and spirit by the element of appetite. And these three elements are present in the soul of every individual. That is the basic assumption of Plato. So, element of appetite makes the individual selfish, motivates the individual to become selfish for maintenance and sustenance of his physical body, whereas the element of reason and spirit tends to make the individual selfless. So, naturally, in the soul of the individual, there takes place a constant conflict. A constant conflict. He's pulled between these two opposing forces. See here the assumption, the belief system of Plato. The individual becomes selfish at the same time selfless, depending upon situations, depending upon the influence of the distinct elements under which it comes. If he comes under the influence of the element of appetite, mostly he will become selfish. If he comes under the influence of the element of appetite and reason and spirit, mostly he will tend to become selfless. So whether one would become selfless or selfish depends upon the influence, the dominant influence of that element, whether reason, spirit, or appetite, which is present in his soul. And these three elements, which are present in the soul of the individual, which taken together constitute or compose individual soul or human soul, they are related with one another in a distinct pattern of hierarchical relationship. The topmost element is the element of reason in the soul of the individual. The lowliest element is the element of appetite. In between element of appetite and reason, there is present the element of spirit. And why element is the topmost element of individual soul? Because it is the directing element of soul. It is the decision making element of soul. It decides what an individual should do or is expected to do as a human being. And that is the reason why the element of reason is the topmost element of the soul of the individual. Appetite doesn't decide. It undertakes activities for maintenance of this human body. Spirit also doesn't decide. It follows the directions of the element of reason. So in this relationship between these three elements in the soul of the individual, element of reason and element of spirit, they are allied together. They are friendly to one another. They are associated together. Whereas the element of appetite stands different from them. And the relationship between these three elements is a relationship of hostility as well as cooperation. Cooperation because they must live together, they must cohere together. All them are the integral parts of individual soul, essential components of the soul of the individual, gifted by nature. So the element of spirit and the element of reason, in their relationship with the element of spirit, becomes distinct and different. Element of appetite is hostile to element of reason and spirit. And this relationship is therefore a relationship of hostility, enmity. Whereas the relationship between element of reason and element of spirit is a relationship of friendship, cooperation. So these three elements, taken together with their distinctive qualities or psychological tendencies or instinct, which are the gifts of nature, compose the soul of the individual. So far as Plato's conceptualization is concerned on human nature. And these three elements are present in the soul of each and every human being. That aspect must also be noted. Present in the soul of every human being, irrespective of gender. Whether the human being is a male or female, whether he is a man or woman, in the soul of every human being, irrespective of gender of the individual, Plato says these three elements, which are the precious gifts of nature, are present together. So Plato, in terms of gender, doesn't discriminate between male and female, so far as the composition of the soul is concerned. And therefore, he is acknowledged as the first feminist of the world. First feminist. He establishes equality between man and woman, so far as the composition of the soul is concerned. And he says that a male and a female, they're equal in terms of their psychology, in terms of mindset or soul, except, of course, the physical function of procreation of human species. A female can give birth to a child, but a male cannot. Except that function of giving birth to a child physically, the soul of a male and a female are equal, he says. Establishes gender equality psychologically. And therefore, he is acknowledged the first feminist of the world. Unthinkable in 5th century BC, say here in very antiquity in ancient time in Greece. When women had no place in the society, what to speak of in politics, Plato asserted thunderous tone the doctrine of gender equality. And what Plato says? These three elements, reason, spirit, and appetite, taken together, constitute the soul of every human being, but not equally. These three elements are present in the soul of the individual, but not equally in the soul of every individual. All elements are present, but they are not present equally in the soul of everyone. For instance, in the soul of an individual, element of reason may be present to the greatest proportion, greatest amount compared to the element of appetite and spirit. In the soul of another individual, element of spirit may be predominant compared to the element of reason and appetite. In the soul of another individual, element of appetite may be found predominant compared to the element of reason and spirit. So the pattern of distribution of these three elements in the soul of the individual is not equal in the soul of every individual. That must also be taken note of. Distribution of the elements, distribution of the presence of these elements. In some individual, element of reason may be found to be to a greater extent. Another individual, appetite may be found to be present to a greater extent. In the soul of another individual, spirit may be found to be present to a greater extent. So, depending upon the presence of depending upon the predominance of a particular element compared to the others in the soul of an individual, the psychology of the individual and his behavior are determined and conditioned accordingly. If the element of reason is found to be predominant compared to the element of spirit and appetite, that individual may be called as a man of reason. Why? Because of the predominance of the element of reason in his soul. And that man of reason is therefore capable to a very great extent for right thinking, he says. He is capable of rational speculation, contemplation, deciding the good, the virtue, knowing it. So, such individuals who have the predominance of the element of reason in them and who are men of reason, therefore, naturally, they must become the decision makers of the society. They must decide. Whereas those individuals in whose soul the element of spirit is predominant compared to the element of reason and the element of appetite, such individuals who are expected to devote themselves naturally for implementing the decisions of the element of reason or the men of reason must devote themselves to right action. They must have courage. They must have chivalry. to follow the directions of the man of reason and to implement the decisions for the good of all, selflessly. So, man of spirit is a selfless individual undertaking activities for the good of all. Selflessly he is doing his activities. Man of reason is the decision maker. He decides for the good of all. He is selfless. So men of spirit and men of reason, these are selfless individuals who think and work for the good of all members of the society, for the entire humanity as well. Whereas those individuals in whose soul the element of appetite is predominant compared to reason and spirit, such individuals naturally become selfish in their thinking and activities because they are always body oriented. They are always concerned for the maintenance of this human body, sustenance of this human body, for procreation of human race, for satisfying the urge for sex. Such individuals. So these men of appetite and men of appetite are those individuals in whose soul the element of appetite is predominant. So these individuals, they must engage themselves in the activities such as production of food, clothes, shelter, warmth, for satisfaction of the physical needs of life. They are mostly devoted because they are the fit individuals naturally. Because the natural tendency of the element of appetite is to motivate them for production of the physical necessities of life and appropriation of them selfishly. So, in Plato's conceptualization, because of the natural configuration and endowments of these three elements in the soul of the individual, an individual may become a man of reason, he may become a man of spirit, he may become a man of appetite. And accordingly, he may devote himself under the motivations of the predominant element in his soul to the relevant and appropriate activities or behavior. A man of reason devotes himself to right thinking, decision making for the good of all. A man of spirit devotes himself to implement the decisions made by the man of reason, and a man of appetite devotes himself for production of goods, commodities, crops, grains, which are concerned with the physical needs of life. So these three types of individual are created by nature on the basis of the presence of the three elements, the natural configuration of these three elements, the natural distribution of these three elements in the soul of an individual. So individuals are motivated to action activities, behavior, roles under the guidance and directions of the predominant element in their soul. And look at yourself. Whether the element of spirit is predominant in you, or appetite is predominant in you, or reason is predominant in you, according to Plato. Are you man of appetite? Are you man of spirit? Are you man of reason? Are you selfless? Or are you selfish? Accordingly. A very beautiful and nice scheme for analyzing human nature is presented by Plato. And Plato says that because of the directions and guidance of nature, these three elements, the predominance of these elements in the soul of the individual, motivates the individual for appropriate activities. And Plato says that under the direction of nature, under the guidance of nature, which is present in the soul of the individual as natural elements, individual undertake activities and they contribute toward the origin of state. And the nature of state and the end of state, the structure of government, the functions of government, and state individual relationships are decided and conditioned accordingly, designed accordingly. This is how Plato enunciates or formulates and presents to us his concept of human nature, the founding concept, foundational concept of his thought. An understanding of this human nature is a must for us for understanding the subsequent aspects of the derivatives of his thought on state and state individual relationship, specifically regarding the origin of state in Plato's concept, nature of state, structure of government, his concept of philosopher king, his concept of communism, his concept of education, his concept of justice. All these are the derivative concepts from this concept of human nature. So, as a student of political science interested in understanding Plato's political thought, we must understand clearly his concept of human nature first, with its distinctive qualities and tendencies, psychological tendencies, instincts that condition human activities and behavior, that condition the state and state individual relationship as well. And regarding Plato's concept of genesis or origin of state, nature of state, end of state, we shall discuss in next class. Thank you.
So thank you, Shah. Thank you very much. I personally enjoyed your lecture, and your lecture is also thought-provoking. Uh, not all can feel that it was a thought-provoking lecture. Uh, you know, uh, to realize whether it is a thought-provoking lecture or not, first of all, we need to have thought. Then only your thought can provoke us. So I hope that our students will very soon realize the thought-provoking quality of your lecture. Right. So, I have two doubts. I know I am also being part of this event and being the organizer of this event. I also became your student. Right. So, student basically means when we learn something from anyone, and we should feel that we are students, and to whom we are listening, we should always, feel that as if they are our teachers. Right. Even a small person can be my teacher in that sense. In your lecture, you said that there is a strong connection between reason and spirit. So, reason basically means the righteous thinking, and spirit basically means the righteous action.
Yes.
And both this thinking or thought, both thought and action produces wisdom, right? So, when we talk about wisdom, it means the right thought must produce right action, right? Both
Wisdom
things.
is wisdom is the prerogative of the element of reason. If reason is not predominant in you, to a very great extent, you can never become a man of wisdom.
Having knowledge, if I don't practice that knowledge, will it make me a person having wisdom?
Knowledge is your ability to know. Wisdom is your outcome
Ability
of,
to act, ability
yes,
to act on it.
ability to know a thing. That is your knowledge.
Okay, okay,
Wisdom
I will
is the
not.
outcome of your endeavor in search for knowledge.
Okay, so I will not go into that. I will discuss with you on that point later. For me, wisdom means thought and action both must be appropriate. Then only I can be a.
Action is the prerogative of spirit. Spirit would implement your knowledge, your wisdom.
Agree with that.
in
You know,
Plato's concept.
my doubt is that regarding appetite, what you brought good relation between the reason and spirit,
Yes,
but you gave an entire different interpretation to the appetite. And in
yes,
appetite, you uttered the word warmth. And in the warmth, you defined it that it is love and affection. And ultimately, it is all about, your sexual,
yes.
activities or feelings. Now, if you see a sexual relation based on love and affection, if I as an individual is having a sexual relation with any woman with love, affection, and care, does it mean that I am less, or do I have less spirit and less reason?
No, 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 no. All these three elements are present. You should not say that in the man of appetite only appetite is present. That is the predominant element in his soul. But element of reason and element of spirit are also nascent in him. They are dominated by the element of appetite.
Got it. For the clarification, I am
Yes.
making it more clarified that
Hmm.
a philosopher king or a soldier may have the appetite, but he is
Yes.
having control over that
Appetite is
appetite.
a must. Appetite is a must for every individual. If he will not eat,
E-
how can he live? How can he maintain his
Exactly.
body?
You cannot leave, and again, if you are not having relationship, physical relationship, then the entire procreation process will
Yes.
be stopped.
Yes. Yes.
So the point is that the individuals who are guided by the reason and spirit, they are mostly not guided by the spirit. So they do
They are
understand.
not mostly guided by appetite.
Oh,
Appetite
sorry,
is
they are
the yes.
right.
Appetite
They
is the dominated by element of reason and spirit.
Right. So reason and spirit, they both are dominating over the appetite. But
Yes.
they do understand the significance and relevance of the appetite, because
Yes.
appetite has its own role.
Own
But they
role.
are
Own role.
simply
Yes.
they are
Yes.
simply not guided by that. Right.
Yes.
So we should
Yes.
not be confused that philosopher king or the
Yes.
man of spirit, they do not have appetite. They have
You, you,
appetite.
yes, you should not think in Plato's conceptualization that the presence of one predominant element leads to the exclusion of the other two elements. Other two elements are also present. If you are man of appetite, if appetite is predominant in you, element of reason and also spirit are present in you because these are the gifts of nature. But
Okay,
they
good
are
enough.
present to a lesser extent in you.
Okay, fair enough, sir. Fair enough. I understood it. My next doubt is that this concept of or understanding of human nature given by Plato, is it a original concept or it is a derivative concept? For example, while teaching Indian political thought, I came across the link between the Kshatriya and the Brahmana. Each king, they have a council of ministers, mostly they are purohits, Brahmins, and they were all guided by the suggestion knowledge of the Brahmin. So the nature of Indian political thought exposes that there is a strong connection between the Kshatriya and Brahmana, so far as the administration of their state is concerned. And in Plato's political philosophy, especially on human nature, we also find a strong connection between the knowledge and power or action. I mean, the soldier or man of spirit
Yes.
represents the power. So we also find the same strong bondage between the knowledge and the power. So my doubt is whether it is original or it is derivative. What is your position, sir?
Plato believes that that is his original concept, but I do not believe it.
Okay,
Personally
you may.
speaking, personally speaking, I find the Greek thinkers must have been influenced by the Vedantic teachings of Vedas.
Okay.
Because in the
So I
Vedas, so far as human nature is concerned, we come across the concept of Sattva, Raja, and Tama. Are these not identical with Plato's concept of reason, spirit, and appetite?
true, very true.
Yes. So these
Oh,
concepts of Vedas and human nature, these are present in very, very antiquity. maybe 5,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 years ago. And Plato belongs to 5th century BC only.
So that is your justification that why
Yeah,
you are not saying
yes.
whether it is origin. Maybe Plato is saying, but that is
The,
what your
so the
rationality is not
concept of human
accepting.
nature, has been composed of sattva, raja, and tama. This is an original concept of Veda and Upanishads. This is
Okay, I
not
can
an
see.
original concept of the
I
West,
can.
but Western thinkers, Western scholars do not accept us, and I also do not accept them.
Okay, great. I think relating to it, Pratap is writing, Sir, Plato's human nature borrowed from the Pythagoras. Uh, I mean, what you will say on this
He
statement?
has been influenced mostly by Socrates, his teacher. But that doesn't mean that he is totally indifferent to the then prevailing concepts of the sophists. Pythagoras was a sophist.
Okay.
He
So,
has been
like,
influenced. He has been
uh,
influenced by the then prevalent concepts and ideas. But the dominating concept in his in forming his thought, in formulating his thought is the influence of Socrates.
okay.
All these
So,
are
right.
Socratic ideas, philosophical ideas. This is the philosophy of life. And that is why we call Plato as the first political philosopher of the West and also the greatest political philosopher. He's not only first, but greatest.
Because
Because
he is the
most,
reference point.
yes, he's the reference point.
I cannot see other questions in the chat box, but in the meanwhile, I urge the participants or the students, if they want to directly ask, they can ask. Okay, Santilata, you can ask. You unmute your video. Santilata means, are you Shriya?
Sir, sir, namaste.
Oh, okay. You
Oh,
unmute, Namaskar. You unmute your video. Sir, Shriya is working with me on women
hmm.
empowerment. Okay, Shriya, you unmute
Acha.
your video
Hmm.
and you so that we can see
Hmm.
you.
What is your question? Could you, my question to you is first. Could you understand Plato's concept of human nature concerning the distinct qualities of these elements of soul of the individual?
Yes,
Are
sir.
you clear on it?
Yes, sir.
Then
I
only
have
you
a
can
question
raise
on that.
questions. Yeah.
Let me confirm
Sir,
you that I appreciate Shriya because she has that faculty.
Ah.
Okay, Shriya, you can ask.
sir. Yeah, as we know that elements of soul, that is reason, spirit, and appetite, can be
Yes.
increased or decreased by human efforts or not. Means if a person possesses the quality of spirit or appetite, then can that person through their own effort install the quality of reason within them?
That is the reason why your question says indicates that you have not understood anything. How can by human effort an individual can increase the gift of nature? All
So
these
means
are the
through
gifts of
our
nature. These are natural qualities implanted by nature in human soul. So
means we have
the
no role
source is
on that.
nature, not individual. So
No,
individual has no role to play.
I
Individual
think
has to act according to the predominant element in the soul of the individual as gifted by nature.
So means we can say that a king also a soldier. So means
Huh?
he can fight
How
in
can?
the
You have not
war.
understood anything in Plato.
So
A king can never become a soldier. That is
sir,
why
sir, let
I
me
urge upon you
in the
to
present
listen to the
context, we can
discussions
see
first.
that.
Sir, let me intervene. Let me, make this crisis very simple. Generally, it is said that the quality of a individual depends on two factors. One is the genetical factors. Mostly, we say that this is nature, right? If I'm born in a, born from a professor, generally professor type qualities are reflected in me. And second factors which impacts to my personality is the environment. In which environment I am situating myself, whether I am working towards that. One can also do hard labor to achieve certain things. Sriya, to
Sir,
Plato is rejecting, the environment. Plato is saying If you are intellectual because you are naturally gifted.
Yes, naturally
If you are
gifted.
Okay.
right, so
Means in
he's
that
very.
there is no role of human efforts.
There is no role.
That
I
is
mean,
your understanding. That is a criticism against Plato. But what Plato says,
Right.
understand first. Plato doesn't say
Okay,
what
sir.
you say.
Hmm.
I mean
So
that is
you
your
must
critical
understand what
estimation of
Plato
Plato.
says. Yes. You must understand what Plato says. Then only you can criticize
Okay,
him or
sir.
find faults with him
I mean, Sriya,
under
we
the
need to
critical
ask.
evaluation.
We need to ask this question: whatever I
Yes.
am today,
Hmm.
predominantly, is it the gift of nature, or it is the result of my labor?
Yes.
I think
Yes.
this question in philosophy it is yet to be solved. And today we are saying that okay, both are right. Maybe both may not be right. For Plato,
Yes.
the right
Hmm.
was it was predominantly given by the nature. If you are intelligent by the nature. You cannot
Yes.
produce your intelligence by your own labor if nature has not gifted you.
Given you.
If
Yes.
nature
The-
has made you an idiot, and if you put your
Sir,
labor,
okay.
okay, you
Sir,
continue.
if nature has given us the quality, means the quality of reason, but if we can't labor on that, we cannot means try to develop that. Can that exist within us?
there is no question of
I mean,
labor.
let
If
me explain.
region,
Let me explain it. See, the moment you are gifted with reason, then you cannot be guided by the spirit and appetite.
appetite.
Then you will behave the way your rationality will guide you. So
Yes.
I always say that knowledge, knowledge is not there in the book. Knowledge is there in you. If you do
Yes.
not have knowledge in you and if you read a book, you will not understand anything. But if you have knowledge, if you have that interpretive quality, you can
Yes.
think from your inside. Then you can bring meaning from a idiotic book, right? If you are reading a
Hmm.
very irrelevant book, still then you can bring many meaningful things. But if your mind is not rational, right? And if you don't have
Yes,
that
sir.
rational quality with you, even if you read, for example, Idea of Justice by John Rawls, you may not understand anything. So, in certain sense, Plato is also right. I mean, the quality what we are having. Let me ask this question: is not it the gift of the nature? Can we really, without the gift of nature, can we really work hard to become intelligent? This is the question I'm throwing at you.
Yes. Yes.
There is no second Lata Mangeshkar. There is no
Oh,
second Sachin Tendulkar.
why there is a difference between Himanshu and Santilata so far as understanding is concerned? Why there is difference? Because nature has given different qualities, rational qualities in the soul of Himanshu and Santilata differently.
No, sir. I mean, she
Okay,
is a
sir.
good student. She's a good student. I can assure you that. That is good that she is asking. I used to ask Sriya that you can ask the opposite question so that you can get a clarity. So we should not be Shriya arrogant to
Yes.
always believe that even if nature has not given any good quality to us, by our hard labor we can do that. This is, I
We
will
may
say
not,
Yes,
that
we,
this
sir.
is
yes, yes.
arrogance. This is arrogance
That is
actually
what I have
that we
told you
need to
from the
do.
very
I
beginning.
also believe that, sir. Means
That is
our
what I
hard
have
work
told
and
you.
our labor also
Yes, yes.
has
You
price.
see, I have told you from the very beginning that these are the perceptions or conceptualizations of Plato. We may agree, we may
Plato,
not
yes.
agree.
Yes, sir.
I
Agreement or
mean,
disagreement is a different question. It
see,
comes under the
what you
critical
are
evaluation
saying,
of Plato and
what you
coming
are
to
saying,
conclusion.
what you are
First,
saying, it
understand
makes
what he says.
Sir, I just want to know from you that answer of that question.
Which one?
okay. I mean,
Means
the question
that
she asked.
uh,
What is your question?
so that was asked by me. The elements of
Oh,
Okay, no,
soul, that is,
yeah, what you are
can
saying
we
that is a
increase or
critical,
decrease?
no, no,
that is a
you cannot. According to Plato. According to Plato, you cannot increase or decrease. It is the gift of
Okay.
nature fixed by nature.
Man,
You
if
cannot
you are
increase
having
or
reason,
reduce.
you will be guided by your reason only. You cannot
Reason,
be guided
yes.
by your spirit. And
Through
Sriya,
efforts you cannot do.
let me tell you,
Sir.
what you are saying, it may come under critical evaluation of Plato. But before you criticize Plato, make sure that whether your criticism is a valid criticism or not.
Yes, that is
Right?
important.
And
Okay, sir.
why I'm asking why it is a valid criticism or not? I mean, if you are not gifted by the nature, can you really work hard to become an intellectual? That's the question we need to think. Then only we will realize if I'm intelligence, because it is the gift of the nature only.
Yes.
You think about it
Okay,
before
sir.
you criticize, Plato. Right. Otherwise,
Okay.
individuals are arrogantly, they are also saying that by our own labor, we can do many things, we can do wonders. Right. Sometimes, our arrogance goes to that height that even we don't care about the nature also. We think that we are the master over the nature. Right. That's a different thing. Okay. Any other questions or doubts?
Yes, yes, Santilada, you listen. If the element of appetite is predominant in you, you will become selfish and selfish to the greatest extent. Whatever activities or endeavor you do can never become selfless. That is what Plato says.
Yes, that is very important. That
Okay,
is
sir.
very important. If you are selfish, if you think about your own profit, then certainly you are guided by the appetite, though it appears that you are guided by the reason or spirit. That's a very good point, sir. Thank you. Now, any other questions or doubts? Okay, Pratap, you ask directly. Pratap,
Yes, sir. Sir, namaskar, sir.
namaskar.
Namaskar.
Sir, what is sir? Nature means is that a social capital or something which is God gifted, or I mean it
What is
is
nature? What is
yes, sir.
nature? What is what type of nature? In what context you are asking the question nature? It is
Sir,
human
human
nature
nature.
or
Yes,
nature
sir.
in
Yes, sir.
general? Eh?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it human
Nature,
nature
sir.
or nature in general?
Sir, human nature, sir.
Human nature. What is human nature? It is
Sir, human
composed
nature.
of the individual's psychology as well as his behavior taken together. His mind, his
Sir,
thinking, his soul, his body, his behavior, activities taken together constitute human nature. It is human behavior who is directed by your mind. Whatever you do on the basis of your thinking, which is present in your soul.
Sir, I'm slightly interrupting. Let's listen to the question of Pratap first.
sir.
Then we can understand. Okay, Pratap, you
Sir,
ask your question and complete it.
sir, soul is predominant or which live or exist in our mind, which is called as heart, and psychology is based on the mind, sir. So how we can correlate mind and soul are these are
Soul
different
is
things.
present in your heart. Who says it? Is it Plato?
No, sir.
And then you may disagree with Plato. You have every freedom to disagree. Give your own theory, your own thesis.
Sir, can we say it is correlate with Abhimanyu, like Abhimanyu learned from the Chakravarti system from his
Why
mother,
do you bring
God
it to
gifted?
Avimanyu? Discuss Plato.
Okay, sir. Sir,
You
we will.
understand what he says. If
Sir,
you comparing Plato with someone else,
sir.
certainly you are undertaking a critical estimate that will come later.
Okay, sir.
Only
Nahi,
when we complete our discussions on Plato in all his aspects of thought, then only you can enter into the second aspect, critical evaluation, and then come to conclusion, the third part. So why are you in a hurry? Understand what he says first. Then only you can examine it in context of your situation in real world situations and come to conclusion.
Sir, sir. Sir,
Pratap,
one. Sir, one
Pratap,
last. Yes, sir.
uh, okay, why you think that soul is in the heart and psychology is detached from the soul?
Now, how could you get this
Soul.
theory? It is Pratap's theory or someone else?
No, sir. Sir, when we think something is when our
No.
mind
You
thinks
you
something.
you cannot think and you cannot think and impute it to Plato. No. Plato has a distinct idea, his belief system. So discuss what he believes.
Sir.
We are not discussing here Pratap's ideas.
Sir,
We are discussing here Plato's concepts.
sir. Sir,
Okay,
last
Pratap,
question, sir.
you
Yeah,
continue. You continue.
one last question, sir. So, can my human nature may be changed in future? Like earlier, what was
That is
predominant? Like
what Santilata is already raised. Through human efforts, it cannot be changed. It is permanent forever. Because nature has decided, nature has given.
sir, human nature, how it can be said universal? Like in post-behavioral thing, it is telling about the.
Oh, you are coming to post, you are thinking you're criticizing Plato. You are free to do it.
Oh, okay, sir.
Write a book on Plato, criticizing him. And we shall read it.
Sir, regarding human nature, one question put in me, sir, in my Viva that they said, can human nature change from philosopher king to appetite or reason something? They said, I
No,
said, sir.
never, 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 never. One who is a philosopher king would remain as a philosopher king throughout his life till his death.
You know,
One who is a
Pratap,
soldier will remain as a soldier. One is a
Nani,
producer will remain as a producer. No question of
Pratap,
change.
Sir.
Pratap, philosopher king, whether it is a philosopher king, whether it is a soldier, they do have appetites, but they are not guided or controlled by that. They are guided by either reason if they are philosopher king,
Yes.
or they are guided by their spirit if they are soldiers.
Soldiers. Simple.
You know, the men of appetite, farmer or artisan class, they do have also reason and spirit, but they are not guided by it. So that's
Yes,
why they are.
they are the followers. They are the followers of the decisions made by the man of reason and the works done by the man of spirit.
Sir.
For example, suppose I'm a professor, right? And that means I'm a philosopher in Plato's category. There are also possibilities that I may be guided by my appetite. Then I am not the philosopher king.
Yes.
I may have appetite, but I am not guided by the appetite. That makes me the philosopher king. So philosopher king will have the appetite. Without appetite, they cannot live.
Sir.
They cannot procreate.
Sir.
Are you getting my point, na?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So
But
any
sir,
other questions?
no.
Any other questions? Pratap, you want to continue?
No, sir. It's
Okay.
I
Then
clarified.
you okay, mute
Okay, sir.
yourself. Okay, any other questions from my students, PG first semester?
It's all right.
No, I cannot see all these any questions from their side. So this is the end of this event. On behalf of all, I am thankful to you, sir. And today I send a note sheet to the Vice Chancellor for his approval towards the authenticity of your engagement with us on this paper, Western Political Thought. So thank you one and all, and good night. Subhratri from India. And for you, sir, it's good morning. Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.